Hi, this is Bob Samuels from TechConnectr, and I'm with Laura Patterson. How are you, Laura?
It's great to talk with you, Bob. Thanks for having me today.
So, Laura, this is a very challenging time for us. It's now Thursday, March 26th. We've been on lockdown official probably, I don't know, a couple weeks, unofficially 3 or 4 weeks. It's a crazy time here in California. How is Texas?
Same crazy time here too. You know, a lot of challenges as people try to figure out our company has been working in a virtual environment for a very long time. So for us, it's kind of business as usual, but that's not true for everyone. So there's been a lot of challenges. And of course, for those folks who have children and who may have been working remotely, they have the additional challenge of how do we entertain our children when we can't go anywhere? So that's
absolutely the additional blessing, depending.
Yeah, it is pretty interesting. And so when I go, take our puppy out for walks, I see some very interesting attempts by our neighbors at keeping their children entertained.
That's funny.
It is funny.
We'll all be better because
there's
of this.
Neighbors who used to stand very close together at the bus stop while they waited for their children to get, taken to school. I now see them standing very far apart and holding on to their children to keep distance. Yeah.
This too shall pass. Hopefully sooner than later.
I think that I'd like to believe that with the American ingenuity and innovation and out of the box thinking that we are known for, that we will come up with some very good solutions quickly.
We were just talking about what some of the auto dealers and
GE Health, Ford, and 3M, I heard, have partnered to do some things that will help
that's cool.
expedite some of the things that health professionals need to take care of all of us if we get sick.
Dyson vacuum cleaners
yes.
I mean, they're fascinating. They're a really good company.
They are an amazing company. And I also heard that, they're looking at how to modify anesthesiologists' equipment. And I also heard or read about a doctor, I don't know if it's at Minnesota or where, somewhere up north from us, we're here in Texas, was able to create a mini ventilator for $150 in parts. That's easy for anyone to do. So lots of cool things being done.
Wow. Very cool. So tell us a little bit about your company and what you're all about.
Sure. So VisionEdge Marketing was founded in 1999. We were talking about data, analytics, process, measurement, CustomerCentricity before those became common words in our everyday business vocabulary. And we use those to help our customers accelerate growth, create customer value, and improve performance. We're pretty well recognized as one of the pioneers in the marketing performance measurement and management discipline. That's a key part of our work. And we've always had a very strong focus on organic growth for our customers.
So when I think of marketers, I think there's creative marketers who are just great at design and branding and strategies and all this stuff. And then there's the numbers marketers, get into the analytics and the optimization. Which type are you?
Yes. So I've had a wonderful career. I've been in the B2B space predominantly my entire career for a very long time, big companies and small companies. And while I've had to be responsible many times for the entire spectrum of marketing, I would probably plant my feet on the marketing science side of the equation.
Yeah. It's a good combination too. And I don't
yes.
mean to paint you in one or the other, but admirable skills both.
Yes.
So what are you seeing these days on what are people doing to be more optimizing things, and what are they doing more as far as the whole concept of being customer centric?
Those are two different questions, but they are very related, and that's very thoughtful of you. So we've all seen a greater push for actionable intelligence. I think that's a great word that I've heard you use before, where we are using data to make fact-based decisions, deriving important and valuable insights from that data, and then help using that data to help both our customers and our companies be more successful. So I think that's definitely been on the rise for a very long time. I think the biggest challenge that most companies have today is not the lack of data. There is more data than many companies can manage, and it's coming from everywhere, right? It's from their internal systems, from their customers, from external, I mean, it's just everywhere. So really getting and understanding how to manage that data, to be literate with data. We have a post coming out on, or had a post coming out on data literacy. I think that may have been this week. So we're very much about how do you manage data and use that data in a way that will be beneficial to you. And so I think the most important thing to remember about data, and then I'll come back on the other side talking about customer centricity, is that to be really good at data, you need to know what question you're trying to answer. Otherwise, you might find yourself just sort of in the deep end of data, swimming in all kinds of information, but you don't really know what to do with it. So we always encourage people we work with to know what kind of question they're trying to answer or what kind of decision they're trying to make. That's helpful in making the data be actionable.
Brilliant.
So that's an answer to that question. Is that kind of what you were thinking?
I was thinking that, and I'll go maybe deeper into that later, but yeah, I'm the one that tied these two together, which I don't know why I did, but tell me about customer centricity and how that plays
Certainly
in.
that's been a buzzword, but it's not a new idea. Actually, the concept of customer centricity has been around probably 15 or so years. And I'm sure you're familiar with Peppers and Rogers. Don Peppers talked a little bit about the difference between being product-centric and customer-centric. But the whole idea is that you're changing the lens, right, from being inside out to outside in. So everything you're doing is from the perspective of the customer being in control of their own buying journey. What are the implications to your organization? So product-centric companies come up with cool ideas, and there's nothing wrong with that because some of the best ideas have come that way. And then they figure out what problem those products can solve and go off to sell them, right? In customer-centric companies, they're really taking a look at what are the challenges, problems, opportunities that their customers or the market is facing. What can they bring to the table that will help address those? And how can they do that better than other options and create value for their customers in doing so? So does that help articulate the difference?
It does. It does. So, I mean, it's very, I mean, this is great thing about being able to host a lot of these interviews because I learn a lot from everybody I talk to. So I was just talking to someone else about how it's important to, you know, not sell them what you have or what it does or anything like that, but rather find out what are their big issues, what's their biggest challenge, and how can you fit into that? How can you ride that coattail of that? Because that's what's driving their world, not whatever you're doing.
That's right. You have to. You're so on the money there. People are, when they're thinking about things, they're thinking about what's in it for me, what's my problem, right? And so if we want to be able to engage with customers, we have to connect at where things are important to them, which, by the way, takes us to the current environment that we're all in right now, right?
So people are not thinking, they're not looking to buy a new whatever right now.
No, they're looking to solve whatever problem they have. And right now, as problems shift, you have to be thinking, how can we help them? Right? So, and this comes back to really stepping back and not thinking about just, I need to create leads for my company as a marketing or organization, but rather I need to help our company get inside the mind and spirit of the customer so that I can lead our company to making sure that we intersect with our customers at the right place.
Right. So if I'm hearing you right, it's during this time of crisis, if you can offer people something that'll fix their problem, like the whole working from home and everything, that's great. Otherwise, let's ensure them that you're fine and that you're there for them when they need you, and we're all going to get through it. And then after this is all over, which it will end at some point, they'll have a good taste in their mouth about you.
Yes,
they'll,
and one of the key things that companies, back to being strategic, when you're in uncertainty, sometimes in situations like we're in right now, you can't really make decisions just based on data because the world is upside down right now.
right. That
So
has an asterisk by it.
yes, and so for example, scenario analysis, what if types of scenarios can be extraordinarily helpful if you're thinking about what if from the customer's perspective. So that can have implications for how you might be managing and marketing today and this
Right.
moment, and thinking about what happens when we're on the other side of this. So
Sure.
that's a really good example of upstream marketing as opposed to the downstream where, we're crafting campaigns and social media programs and new content and another email initiative or whatever that might look like, which is very downstream. But if you can step back and say strategically, what do I know? What insights do I have right now about what are the situation that the customers and the market are in? And how do I apply that to scenario analysis? Then we can build and modify if necessary strategies and be more agile and nimble in our approach to doing that.
So it's a flexible thing that can change with the environment as things change.
We all need to be flexible right now, that's for sure.
And we need to keep our message clear. The overriding message needs to still be there, just a different tone.
Yeah, and I think this is a good time to remember the why process is so essential, because when we are in times like this, it's process that can help us survive and potentially even thrive. So if we don't have good processes on the marketing front, and all businesses run on processes, and marketing is no exception. And so one of the things that's in our new book, Fast Track Your Business, is a framework that's really a process for how to accelerate your growth using a customer-centric approach. So it's really about making sure you put those processes in place so that when you are in situations like this, you either have that infrastructure that you need in order to manage the situation, or you can look at that process and say, what do we need to modify? And it's a lot easier than if you didn't have anything and now you're trying to figure it out.
That's brilliant. So the static is always, there's always this customer centricity, and there's always a process, and then the situations change. But those are always there. The structure is already there to be able to deal with the modifications.
Exactly.
Very good. I love it.
Thank you.
So getting back to the data, I always think of data is noise. It's just, like you said, there's so much of it. Making something out of it would be information, something intelligible about it. And then if it's actionable, or as you said, I forgot what you said, but if you can do something with it, and if it solves whatever it's answering the right questions, it's asking the right questions. Then you've got actionable intelligence that can be toward things that are the most important to you.
So I think, again, the situation we're in right now is pretty fascinating because there's a tremendous amount of data being generated and people are trying to understand what it means, right? And so as a marketing scientist, it's very easy to get sucked into the patterns that you can see in data. And so it's very important to make sure that the patterns are germane, are relevant. Otherwise, you could be going off in all types of wild.
Well, that's a good point
directions.
because honestly, the thing that affects the numbers most is when and where and how often and how early the tests are given. If you don't have tests, the numbers are going to be low. When you have tests, they're going to go up. But not because things got better or worse. It's because you're testing things now. You have data.
Right, and that's true in this example that we're all living in right now, but it's also true in business. So as you get more information, more doesn't necessarily, it just helps us do a better job of getting a sense of what is that and how do we use that information to make better decisions. So from our point of view, the whole purpose of analytics, which is essentially applying some type of mathematical process to data, right? The whole purpose of analytics is to foster better decisions, to make course adjustments. So in order to do that, you have to kind of have some idea of what course you're on to determine whether you need to adjust or what decision you need to make. Otherwise, you'll just be, as I said earlier, sort of swimming in the deep end of data.
Very good. Yeah, okay. And then I was just thinking of something else that's rather interesting. So if you make everything customer-centric, then even your internal reports and performance metrics should be based on customers. So instead of having a goal of, okay, let's get the sale, and so once we got the sale, we made sure the customer's happy. But after that, I need to grow revenue. Well, growing revenue is really, it should be a function of either making the current customers happier or bringing in more happy people.
You are such a straight man, Bob, because we have a saying in our company, and we use it frequently in all of our presentations, and it's also in Fast Track Your Business. We do not market or sell to buckets of revenue.
Yeah.
So, well, and if you just have a revenue target, you could actually fail, because revenue and growth are not the same thing. You can make money but actually not be growing because somebody is growing faster, or the market, you may be making more money in a shrinking market. There's
or right? maybe less profitable.
Customers could, exactly. Customers could be going out the back door while you're bringing, revenue in. So it's not really about that. What you should be thinking about is, to your point, which customers in which markets for which products solving what problems, right? Then you're thinking differently.
Yeah, that's very different. And I have a finance background. I'm a CPA and a CFO, and we never had reports that were really customer centric. They were internally focused stuff.
And one of the things I always tell marketing leaders is that the CFO in your organization should be one of your most strategic partners, not someone to run from, but actually someone to run to, because they have a tremendous access to data, and they have a different view of that from the business perspective. And more CFOs today are really becoming key members of the CEO's strategy team. Today, I know you and I have both been around a long time, and I imagine early in your career, putting together month-end reports was very arduous. But today it's much quicker. So CFOs have more time to be visionary, to be strategic. And so if marketing is going to be strategic, then one of their best partners is the CFO.
I agree. Very good. Is that in the book?
I'm sure I talk about CFOs in the book because they're among my favorite people.
So what are some of the highlights of the book? Because I'm curious. I definitely.
So the book is based on a framework called the Circle of Traction, and it is a wheel essentially that has an axle and then nodes. And it is a framework we've been using in our company for pretty much since our existence. And the book takes you through the Circle of Traction, each node on the wheel, where you need to start, and what steps you need to take to move the wheel. And as you move the wheel and get better at it, then you can accelerate or gain more traction in the marketplace.
And what's on the wheel?
Oh my gosh. Okay, great question. So the wheel starts at the very beginning, which I think at the top, which I think you'll appreciate. It's called Customer and Opportunity Insights. So that's where it starts. And from there, that's when you can then.
So that's research and surveys and analysis and.
That's the whole data story, right? That's your whole data story.
That's the before data story.
Yeah, that's not the end of the data story. Data permeates itself throughout the entire wheel, but you have to start there. Yeah. And then you set your business outcomes. So you don't set your outcomes or your revenue targets until you've completed that step. So the second node on the wheel is the performance targets. And that leads you to, well, how will we get there? And that's where innovation and strategy come into play, followed by segmentation and positioning, which are all part of the upstream work of marketing. I mean, so you can see that there is a huge role for marketing to play in growth. Sure. From that, we turn to planning and execution, not just for marketing, although certainly the downstream of marketing becomes prominent in the plan and execute. And then
that's where my world kicks in, is in the
your world kicks in, and many others that we work with. And that leads to operational excellence. So that obviously, if you're going to be successful, this is where marketing operations and all sales operations and other operational arms come into play, as well as all the infrastructure and the tools and the processes that you need to run an organization. And then that obviously allows you to move into performance optimization. And once you get into performance optimization, how do you optimize? You get more data, more insights from customers in the market, and the wheel continues again.
Beautiful. And there's a little cycle, and it goes back and
Yes.
feeds the cycle.
Yes.
It's all about data.
All about data. Again, having the roots of our company and the roots of my career in marketing science, which has been around actually, for a pretty long time. I know we all like to talk about it being relatively new, and we see all these universities creating marketing science and digital marketing analytics tracks in their curriculum. But the field of marketing science has been in existence for decades. And so, yes, the book is steeped in that.
Yeah. And, so now I'm back to the same thing I mentioned. I put them together before, but, it's all about the data and it's all about the customers.
It's all about the customer and the data.
At the end of the day, it's all about the customers.
It's all about the customer and the data you need to make sure that you can.
It's just your measurement tool to keep you right, make sure the customer is happy.
Yes.
That's its goal in life.
Well, the purpose of any business, according to Peter Drucker, is to create a customer. There is no, that is the purpose of every business.
That's their product.
Yes.
That's their goal in life. Beautiful. So, okay. So you say you've been around a while, whatever. We all have. ABM, it's a new term. It's been, it was used to be called targeted marketing or named accounts.
And before that, strategic account marketing, right?
Okay. And so it's just new buzzwords.
Correct.
But
we have a tendency. We have a tendency in marketing to rename something and think that it's new. I think the benefit of ABM today, if you want to talk about ABM, that's different from when you and I might have been doing strategic account marketing, is the tools that are available to us to facilitate that.
Yep. Now, have you seen any cool tools along those lines?
I've seen some interesting tools, and of course, I'm a big fan of John Miller's Engagio. If I give him a little plug here, but again, I want to caution marketers and companies about chasing shiny toys, which tools can be. So the most important thing is just to know how to do the work. I use this story frequently, Bob. My father was quite a handyman. He did a lot of really great home projects, and exposed me to tools very early in my life. But he was a very big believer that before you bought a tool, that you knew how to do it. So before we bought or used a sander, we used sandpapers and different kinds of sandpapers. So I would learn what different. Yes, I would learn the process of sanding, and I would learn what different types of sanding paper did it to the wood, right? Before you got a tool. Because if you got a tool first and you didn't really know the process of sanding or what to use, you probably damaged the wood.
Yeah, much more efficiently.
Yes. Yeah. So the thing I try to do is encourage young marketers and all marketers to be proficient, right? We need to be proficient and skilled in our work, and then we can use the tools.
Yep, and hands-on, and then you'll appreciate.
Know how to sand before you buy the sander.
Know how you sand. Absolutely. That's a good one. That's a good one. So what do you see as the future? What are we going to be talking about in a year from now, in 5 years from now?
Oh, wow.
Is the customer still going to be the main thing?
I think so. I don't think that's going to go away.
That's your prediction. I'm going to hold you to it.
I think that the customer is going to always continue to be in charge of the buying process. It really has shifted, and I don't see that changing. We talk about being in the age of the customer and being in a customer center.
But how about when we talk about the customer, there's different people involved in the process. I hear 10, 12, 15, 20 people on the buying committee.
So in the B2B,
that may be changing in the next 3 to 5 years.
In the consultative B2B sell, you and I are in a complex B2B selling environment. That is true. And, I don't think that is significantly going to change. Again, a quick story. My mother, who is elderly, needed to have some surgery a few years ago for some back surgery. And as we went through that process of making a decision of what kind of therapy, what kind of surgery, what kind of doctor, there were a lot of people involved in the buying decision, including her children and her friends, right? Even though it was not B2B, it was it was a complex sell, and others along the way, like the insurance company and others, people that have influence over the buying decision. So I'm not sure that is necessarily going to change significantly, but I think what will change is how marketers begin to think about and use data to connect and engage with customers. I think that's, an opportunity.
Well, what data will they have, or what data would you wish you had that you don't have right now?
Oh, well, I think about all the people who visit our website every day, and we are really blessed, and how many of them I don't know who they are. They're anonymous, right? And, I think that, companies are trying to crack the code on that. That's an example.
So I know Lead Forensics does that.
They do, and we have reached out to them, but it's still not quite what you think it is yet.
It isn't, and the match rate is not particularly impressive.
Right, but that's an example of something that I think will get better.
I don't know. All the cookie stuff's going away, so that's going to affect a lot of data.
It is, so it'll be fascinating to see how. Back to that ingenuity, what else emerges?
I know, because I've been hearing the demise of being able to do targeted marketing for a long time, and it changes. Google keeps putting in new things, and whatever. It's fascinating. So it's a pleasure speaking with you. I took way more of your time than I promised. So I appreciate you.
It's my pleasure, Bob. I so appreciate you being interested, and I hope that some of this information will be useful to your community.
Absolutely. Any other words of wisdom before I let you go?
Just everyone keep safe and be well.
Very good. Laura, it's a pleasure, and I look forward to reconnecting soon.
Thank you. Talk with you again soon, Bob.
Thank you. Cheers.